Hyderabad is a sprawling city of over 10 million people on the Deccan Plateau in southern central India. The city is rich with 500-year-old architecture and a healthy mix of Hindu and Muslim cultures. And the city's name is practically synonymous with traditional handmade ebonite fountain pens. Deccan Pens started selling them over 100 years ago here. And although they don't make them anymore as far as I can tell, the tradition of handmade ebonite pens lives on in Hyderabad. And I decided to visit the city to meet with some of the current pen makers and see what else I could find. The month-long trip got off to a rocky start though, a theme that would unfortunately continue throughout the trip. When I arrived at SeaTac Airport on November 24th to catch my flight, there was a fuel pipeline leak that created delays and long lines, and I missed my flight. So instead of arriving late on the 25th, I arrived on the 27th. I took the rest of the day to get over my jet lag a little bit and see some of the sights. And just by chance, as I was wandering around, I noticed a pen shop called Hina Pen, and I decided to check it out. They mostly sold common European pen brands, but I found this Indian pen, a Click Ebonite model, and decided to buy it, my first pen of the trip. It was the next morning, though, that things really started to get interesting. I took a taxi out to the store and workshop of PLP Pens. I made a video about PLP Pens about a year ago, and they primarily specialize in traditional Indian pens made of ebonite that are eyedropper filled. But most are also available with converters, and they also make acrylic pens and some other interesting materials I discovered. Their pens are very reasonably priced for handmade pens, for any pens really, and of all of the handmade ebonite pens that I've purchased, PLP has given me the most consistently high quality polish and finish. I love their pens. The PLP company name is the initials of its founder and primary pen maker, Mr. Puna Lakshmi Pati, a true gentleman who began learning to make pens as a 12-year-old boy. And his son, Satish, has been helping him with the business side of things for several years, while also learning to make pens. And I got to watch both of them work on some pens in the workshop on the ground floor of their home. The workshop has a couple of different lathes that are dedicated to cutting the ebonite stock to length and boring out material. And a more sophisticated lathe for shaping the pens and cutting the threads. And of course, there's a separate machine for polishing them. I don't know how much time I spent watching the two of them work on pens. I could have happily done it for hours. They put so much care into each step of the process. It was clear that they weren't just putting on a show. This was true dedication to the craft and love of fountain pens. I had already spent about an hour talking with them about their current business. Like many Indian companies, they were not shipping to the US or Canada at the time because of tariff issues, but I was glad to hear that they were already producing pens at their full capacity for shipments to Europe and the rest of the world, with demand steadily growing. Hopefully they'll be able to start shipping to the US again soon.
Quality, the customer won't return to you. Sure. So that's how he taught me, like, don't focus over the money, focus over the quality.
And as we were talking, they also showed me several new pen models that they're developing.
I have few pens ready for you. We have few which are not available over the website.
And they very generously gave me some examples that I can show you. But let me start small. One of the things that really grabbed my attention was this. This is a handmade Ebonite Nib Unit that will fit in a JoWo-compatible pen. And on the bottom here, you can see that it will also accommodate a cartridge converter. But instead of holding a typical JoWo nib and plastic feed, the feed here is a custom-made Ebonite one. And the nib is an Indian ambitious nib, I believe, that would typically only be used in an eyedropper-filled pen. So not only will this give the user the excellent flow of ebonite all around, this sort of thing will give PLP a lot of flexibility in using nibs from Indian makers like Ambitious or Rico, while still being able to provide converters to customers who prefer them. And if I wanted to use an Indian nib like this one in one of my European JoWo nibbed pens, it would be as simple as unscrewing the existing nib unit and then screwing in the ebonite one. But let me show you some pens. Only slightly larger is this little black pocket pen that doesn't have a model name yet, but it will be available on the PLP website soon. It's a tiny little ebonite pen, just 3.5 inches long and 3/8 of an inch wide. And it's an eyedropper, of course. The cap unscrews and we can see this sharp-looking little nib with an ebonite feed and a narrow grip section. But the cap posts, making it surprisingly comfortable to write with. The nib feels really nice and a little soft, but still very precise. This pen is a great fit for a lot of the little pen loops on my leather notebooks that are usually more appropriately sized for pencils and ballpoints than fountain pens. And this beautiful little red and black ebonite pen is the same length, but about 5 millimeters thicker at the widest part of the cap. This is the pen that Satish was polishing for me here, and it turned out very nicely, even though I was tempted to leave it with a matte finish at first. I love the color of this ebonite. This pen is a pre-production model of the PLP Mini, and the production model will have a really nice looking roller clip and a cap band. This cap unscrews, again in a little less than 2 turns, and this is another little vintage nib, I believe. This one is branded Jutao with a feed that's about 5 millimeters wide, and it's also an eyedropper filled pen. On this pen, the cap posts deeply enough that if it were any shorter, it might be too short, but as it is, it's just fine, and the grip section fits me a little bit better than the black model. Moving on to the larger pens, this one is a clear acrylic demonstrator. It's a medium-sized pen with flat ends. Look at how perfect the polish is on these. But the most interesting thing about this pen is more easily visible when I remove the cap. This one has a hooded nib, and it's a bit of a complex design for a handmade pen, with an inner section that holds the nib unit, and then the hood screws onto that. But it's a great looking pen, and the grip is really comfortable. You can see that it has a converter inside of it, but this pen could also be filled with an eyedropper. The next new pen is another acrylic model, this time a cracked ice acrylic, although it's not the acrylic that makes it new. They've been making the Model 7 pen in acrylic for years, but the body shape on this one is new, and it's very clean and elegant, with a black finial on the cap and a wide ring at the base of the cap. And unscrewing the cap here, you can see that the black grip section matches the finial, and this is not a fountain pen at all. This one is a roller ball, and it actually feels really nice to write with. It uses a standard Schmidt 5888 refill, or any of the other refills that fit that standard. Now this one is a fountain pen, but as you can see, the cap is made out of brass that is chrome-plated. The pen is a classic cigar shape with a black ebonite button on the top of the cap to match the ebonite of the body. Unscrewing the cap, again we have a nice clean shape overall, with the metal ring between the grip section and the body of the pen, but no threads. The threads on this one are up next to the nib. And inside of the cap, there's a corresponding piece of ebonite that the pen threads into. That avoids potential problems from metal on ebonite damage. This nib is an ambitious with an ebonite feed, and the pen is eyedropper filled. This one feels like a nice workhorse pen, a good student or office pen maybe. And that finally brings us to this beauty. This model is called the Dronakarya, named after a prominent figure in the Hindu epic Mahabharata. This one is, of course, entirely made of ebonite, and the color of this ebonite is really cool. More of an olive green than the usual tans and browns that I see. I own two PLP jumbo model pens, the teal blue and the green, and this pen is similar in diameter but even longer. And the clip on this model is the straight one found on most of their pens. Removing the cap, here we see a black ebonite section, and oddly enough, the section is a bit shorter than the ones on my jumbos. The cap threads, luckily, are perfectly comfortable. My thumb usually ends up right on top of them, but if anything, they just add a bit of texture and stability in the grip. The nib here is a 35mm ambitious, just like my teal jumbo, but like most PLP pens, I suspect that this one will also be available with a JoWo nib and converter. You all know that I'm a fan of large ebonite pens, and I love this one. It's comfortable and writes beautifully, and as an eyedropper-filled pen, it will hold 3 milliliters of ink. But there was one pen that was even more stunning than this when I saw it. It's still in the prototype stage, and it may not be available for quite some time still. This machine in the workshop, though, is for the manufacture of this pen. The body of this pen is made of sterling silver over ebonite, and They had a pair of these prototypes, but unfortunately, they didn't have one that they could part with yet. I hope that they'll let me know when they do have one for sale. I absolutely love the patterns and detail and the silver of this pen. And after having a wonderful Indian brunch with the family and meeting his brother, Satish took me back over to the PLP pen shop itself. The shop, I learned, is really more geared towards supplying the students of a nearby engineering college with standard modern school supplies, rather than catering to fountain pen hobbyists. But they do keep several of their own fountain pens on hand, along with some less expensive ones like this Hero. And they also had some common Brill inks. But if you're going to be in the area and want to see fountain pens, I'd recommend contacting PLP in advance rather than dropping by the shop. Well, this early in the trip, my body was still confused by the 12.5-hour time difference between India and Seattle, so I let the gentleman at PLP get back to work, and I headed back into the heart of the city to see if I could stay awake for a few more hours. My destination was a pen shop called JK Pens, not too far away from Deccan Pens, so I thought I'd visit both. JK Pens is on a busy road in the older part of the city, and although it's not a huge store, it has a nice collection of pens from several European brands, and Schaefer, which is now an Indian-owned brand, and Lapis Bard, which is another Indian brand that masquerades as an English one. When I asked about Indian pens, the proprietor pulled out a few cases containing around 100 different pens from Indian brands, but primarily PLP. I ended up buying 2 of them. They were about $20 each. This is a PLP Torpedo, and I bought this one because I just loved the color of this ebonite, with the ripples of red on the cap that darken to a maroon or purple on the body. It's beautiful. This one is an eyedropper-filled pen with an Indian ambitious nib. And then I bought this one. Not only do I not own this model from PLP, I've never even seen it listed for sale on their website. It's a nice tiger-striped tan ebonite, and all of what we're looking at here is the cap of the pen. It unscrews down here, and of course, this end is also threaded so that if you want to write with the pen posted, you can secure the cap back on that way. This style of pen dates back to the 1920s at least, but it's the first one that I own. Satish later told me that this pen model was custom made to order for JK Pens, although a similar model may be available on their site in the near future. Anyway, this pen has a smooth tapering grip section and an ambitious nib that looks like a number 5 and is brass-toned rather than steel. And of course, an ebonite feed. After visiting JK Pens, my jet lag had finally caught up to me completely, and rather than looking for Deccan Pens, I looked for some biryani for dinner and then immediately fell asleep upon reaching my hotel. And as it turned out, that was the last pen shop that I visited in the city. I had planned on visiting the Woodex workshop the next day, but because of my late arrival in India, the scheduling just didn't work out, and instead I spent part of the day exploring the bazaars around the Charminar. As it happens, my friends at the excellent Indian pen channel, Pen Delight recently posted a video about Woodex's workshop, and I would definitely recommend that if you're curious about Woodex.
In Hyderabad. So most of our fountain pen enthusiasts know the Woodex pens, and so today I came here to meet Woodex pen team.
In the evening, though, I met with a man named Shreyas from Esen Gear, an online purveyor of fountain pen-related stuff in Hyderabad. He was kind enough to take some time out of his busy schedule to come and meet me at my hotel, and he shared a wealth of information with me about the city and its fountain pen scene. I had tracked him down beforehand because his company sells 2 exclusive limited edition inks made by Krishna. This one, called Tangedu, named after the yellow state flower there, is a yellow-brown ink designed for shading, and only 49 bottles of this ink were made, so I was very grateful that he managed to set one aside for me. Mine is number 15. The second one is called Palapitta Eeka, and is named after a bird called the Palapitta, or the Indian roller, which is vibrant blue and turquoise, and the state bird of Telangana. I thought that I might have spotted one of them outside of my hotel window a week or so later, but it turned out to be a purple sunbird. In any case, Shreyas described the ink to me as an Indian Bay State blue without all of the hassle. And of course, I bought both of the inks. They're about $5 each. Let me show you what they look like. This is the Palapitta Eeka, and it's a very vibrant blue. I would call this a true blue, not leaning green or purple. When it's dry, it's not quite as vibrant as Bay State blue, but it's a good vibrant blue. It reminds me a lot of the Hyderabad sapphire blue. It provides a little bit of shading and also just a touch of coppery sheen where it's heavy. And here is the Tangedu. This one is a sort of yellow-black, if that makes sense. Where it's heavy, it really is nearly black, but where it's thin, it's a yellow tan. If I write a bit with it, you can see how that shading comes across. Really nice, I think. I also bought one of their ink wells. It's sort of an ink miser, really. And a pair of their pen sleeves. They sell these really nice, sturdy sleeves in a variety of patterns, but this one was named after the Begum Bazaar. That's the massive 500-year-old street market that I had visited earlier in the day, so I went with it. The 3-pen pouch cost about 400 rupees, that's around $4.50 US, and this 2-pen sleeve with the front pocket was about the same. And that was it for Hyderabad this time. Early the next morning, I made my way to the train station and boarded a train for Rajamundry. It would be an 8-hour trip, but it would take me to 3 of the oldest operating fountain pen workshops in India, and it was one of my favorite places on this trip.
Now, Chennai reach Hyderabad Charminar Superfast Express platform Krama 3.
If you're curious to see that part of my journey, then make sure that you're subscribed to my channel. And of course, if you remember that like button down below, that will really help me make more videos like this. And that's it. I'll see you back here soon with the next installment of this journey. Take care out there and enjoy your fountain pens and ink. See you next time.